All right, so we're going to talk about some Excel basics today. Basically, it's about Excel. Okay, so there's a couple things that we kind of have to define before we get into it: a formula, a function, and what is the data analysis tool pack. We're going to talk about that a lot. Well, a formula. Your book is going to define it as a set of mathematical operators that performs a mathematical task. I mean, this is, the same thing that you're thinking about from any math class, any formula that you've learned, from grade school up until now. Like this. Something equals 2 plus 6 plus 12. This is going to be 20, right? So the formula is 2 plus 6 plus 12. That's a formula. Excellent. That's all we need to know. So you can write formulas into Excel. You can type them in just like this. In fact, if you put this exactly what's in green here into Excel, it would return a number for you. We've also got functions, though, and functions are predefined formulas. They come from Excel. And they're denoted by this little italicized F. And that's something like sum of 2, 6, and 12. These would both return the same result. So one, you're just saying 2 plus 6 plus 12. The other, you're saying take the sum of 2, 6, and 12. They return the same result. The difference here is in one, you're doing all of the adding in all the mathematical operators, and the other one, Excel, has already has these mathematical operators in the function. And then the last thing that we've got is the data analysis tool pack. It's an Excel add-in that allows you to basically analyze data in all sorts of different ways. And what's really great about this one is it's point and click. So you don't have to type in anything. You can just click on stuff, which is so cool. And okay, I'll stop with those colors now. It took a long time to get those ready. So hopefully you enjoyed how annoying that was. Anyway, it's all point and click. So we're going to show you just a quick walkthrough of what this is going to look like. You're in cell A1 in Excel, and what you're going to do here is starting with an equal sign. You always start with the equal sign. Anytime you're going to do any sort of calculation in Excel, use an equal sign. Whether it's a formula that you're typing in or a predefined function, everything needs to start with an equal sign. If you don't start with an equal sign, Excel just treats it as text. So you could type text 2 plus 6 plus 12, and it would just display as 2 plus 6 plus 12. Whoop-de-doo. If you actually want it to do the math, you have to tell it that you want it to do the math. And the way that you do that is with the equal sign. The equal sign tells Excel, hey, wake up and compute this thing, instead of just here's some text. So the equal sign is really, really, really important. Always start with an equal sign. It's so important. Well, so you can type it in two places. You can type it directly into cell A1. Where am I? Here I am. You can type it directly into cell A1, or you can click there and you can come up to the formula bar and you can start typing in here. Either one is absolutely acceptable. As long as you start with an equal sign, you're good. It is so important to start with an equal sign. You could think of it as Gates' law, like Bill Gates' law, because he, Microsoft. Anyway, anytime you're calculating something, you need to start with an equal sign. Okay, so always start with an equal sign. Type the rest of the formula. In this case, what we're computing here is 2 plus 4 divided by 2. 2 plus 4 is in parentheses, so you know that that's coming first. That's going to be 6, and then divided by 2 is 3. Exactly. Okay, so if we start with an equal sign, this should, once we hit enter, should give us 3. If we didn't put an equal sign, it would just sit there and say 2 plus 4 divided by 2. Once you hit enter, congratulations, you got a 3 because you put an equal sign, so that's great. You've entered this formula. Here's some other important operators that you might need to know. So if I jump back, the operators that we've got here are parentheses. This is good for grouping, obviously. You've got plus signs for addition, slashes for division. A lot of these are the same as what you'll probably know, especially on good old graphing calculators, right? Like this guy, you kind of use the same sorts of things. It's all of this like computer operating stuff that we're using in Excel, not X's for times or putting things over a line for division. So it's not that kind of writing things out. We have to go in a different way. The same TI calculator kind of way, the way that things have been since, you know, the first huge, giant, ridiculous computers. So the plus sign is going to add. The minus sign is going to subtract. These are all normal. The slash is going to be your division symbol. The asterisk is your multiplication symbol. And a caret, the little upside down V, small upside down V, is going to say you're raising something to the power of. So in this case, 4 squared, 4 to the power of 2, or 4 squared, this will be 16. And it's the same as writing right down here. You can say 4 squared, you could also say 4 times 4, right? It's all the same. So 4 caret 2, or 4 multiplied by 4, it's all the same. But these are operators that will come in handy in this class and also just using Excel in general. These are, you know, just kind of your basic run-of-the-mill operators that you'll use for most statistical things. We'll just use these. There's some there are actually no operators for, and we'll talk about that in a second. So parentheses, we talked about parentheses, but it's worth talking about again. So really complex formulas require an order of operations, right? So you have to follow the order of operations. We have to follow the order of operations when we're doing things like in math class. We have to do it the right way. Well, Excel needs to be told the order of operations by us, so we're putting in parentheses. Again, it's just like the old graphing calculator that you used in high school, right? It's kind of the same basic idea. This is illustrating the problem that comes up when you're using parentheses correctly or not. So if you typed all of this in without parentheses, 78 plus 56 plus 85 plus 92 divided by 4, or parentheses 78 plus 56 plus 85 plus 92 divided by 4, you get a different answer. And the reason for this is the PEMDAS thing, right? So this should be, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That was an interesting typo. So I guess that works too. Like, why is she not at Christmas? Well, you know, she died. So PEMDAS, please excuse my dear or dead Aunt Sally. Man, what a excellent typo. Okay. Either way, parentheses come first. And then parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Multiplication and division are just going to be done in a line. Addition and subtraction are done in a line. Parentheses first, then exponents. Then multiplication and division. Then addition and subtraction. And so the parentheses here makes a huge difference, because in the top, the first thing you're going to do is divide. So you're going to divide 92 by 4 first, and then you're going to add it to all these other numbers. And you end up with 242. In the bottom, you have parentheses, so then the first thing you're going to do is what happens in the parentheses, which is adding all these things together and then dividing by 4, and you get 77.75. Now, you might kind of notice a little something going on here, that what this is the formula for the average of these 4 numbers, 78, 56, 85, and 92. Think of these as like exam scores or something like that, right? So if we want to find the average score that someone got on an exam and kind of like calibrate your brain to think that, well, 242 makes no sense. Nobody's getting a 242 average on an exam that's out of 100. But 77.75 at least makes logical sense. And so you kind of can see when you calculate these that one is wrong and one is right. Sometimes that's not going to be the case. Sometimes you're going to end up with a number that could, logically be correct either way. So you have to be careful with those parentheses because Excel doesn't know what you're telling it to do. It's dumb, right? It's a computer. It's a robot. Man, when the robot uprising happens, I'm going to be the first person to be murdered. But at least right now, these computers are stupid. So you have to be the one to tell them, like, this is the order of operations. This is what we want. So keep an eye on the parentheses. Okay, so we're going to create this data set. And to find the average, there's a few different things that we could do. Like, how are you actually going to compute this average? Well, one thing you could do is you could just type in equals. There's something you could do even before what I've got here. You could type in equals, parentheses, 3 plus 4 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 divided by 10 and hit enter and you get the average. You could type it in the way that I've got it here. So you could use the cell to denote what number it is. So you could say equals parentheses B2. What that means is this column here, B. So first it's going to activate this column and it's going to be looking for something in this column, and then you say B2. Well, here's the second row, B2. It's a 3. So B2, then B3, then B4, all the way down to B11, and then divided by 10, the total number of things you have. So it's taking the average, again, the same way. Why is one of these preferable to the other? Why would you, if it comes out the same, why would you type in these cell locations instead of just the numbers? Well, if you type in the cell locations, you can copy it and paste it somewhere else. So if you're having to take averages of a whole bunch of different things, let's say you have multiple columns of information that you want to take averages of, a whole bunch of different test scores for different people in a class or something like that. Let's say they all take 5 exams and there's 10 people in the class. So you want to find the average for all those people. Well, if you do the numbers, you're going to have to type in a different formula 10 times, once for each person. If you type it in with these cell locations, you only have to type it in once, because Excel, when you copy from one place to the next, is going to know, oh, well, we moved from B12 to C12, and that means that I need to update all of these cell references to C. So when you move it over, when you copy B12 after you've typed this in, and you paste it in C12, then the formula is going to change to C2 plus C3 plus C4. Continuing. But there's other things you could do. One thing is another operator, which is like, you can consider it through, like a dash. When we say like ages 5 through 10, and you have 5-10. That's what this colon is in Excel. So this is saying B2 through B11. And so essentially, I've gotten rid of a whole bunch of things that I have to type in by just saying, like, let's, take the sum, B2 through B11. And actually, this should say sum right here. Why did I do that? It should say sum. It should be a function that you have here. Sum, B2 through B11, divided by 10. So instead of doing actually all this work, I can just say sum, B2 through B11, divided by 10. And now I've saved myself a whole lot of writing. But because I'm using cell locations, it'll still update as I move across. And there's another thing that you can do, which I'm going to show you. You can use a formula, or a function rather. You can use a function. All these are formulas, but you can use a function. Sum is a function, but there's also a function that'll compute the average for you just by typing in average. So there's a few different ways to get there. One of these is in Excel, you can click on the Formulas tab and you can click on Insert Function. And that'll bring up a dialog box and you can search through all the different functions. Another way is you click on this little italicized f of x, this function thing here. This brings up, again, the dialog box that you can search through. These are two ways to get a way to search for functions. The other thing is, if you know these functions, you can just type them in. And there's a few that, while you're going through this class, it might be helpful just to memorize the names of these functions. They're not difficult. This is not programming. This is, I mean, they're named things like average and sum. I'll show you a few more in a second. But first, before you have any of these memorized, you might have to search for them. So you can click on the Formulas tab, then you can go to Insert Function, or you can click on the little italicized f of x near the formula bar. What this is going to do is it's going to bring up this dialog box right here. You can type in a description, so you can say average or mean or something like that. Or you can just look through these functions here. And when you click on one, it gives you a description down here. So if you click on avdev, it's going to say, returns the average of the absolute deviations of data points from their mean. Hooray. Cool. So you can click on all these and read about them. And if that sounds like the thing you want, you double click on it, and it pops into your formula bar, and you can fill in the rest of the formula, like B2 through B11, and hit enter. There you go. So you click on this, you're going to put in your arguments, B2 through B11, and here it's displaying what those numbers happen to be. And you'll click OK, and you get 3.3. Now here's something I want to point out to you. Average equals average, and then in parentheses B2 through B11. This is what you can memorize and type in. And like, it's not that hard, right? It's not crazy. It's not like when you see actual C+ code or Python code or something like that where you have to name variables and all this crazy stuff. You don't have to do that. You just remember average. It's a word that we use to say exactly what this is that we're doing. So the command average, or the function average, just means find the arithmetic mean of cells B2 through B11. It's a lot easier than going through all those click and find steps to just type in equals average and then parentheses and then what you want to find the average of. Okay. So I've kind of covered this, you know, like if it's just as easy to type the formulas and you don't have to remember the function commands, why would you even use functions? Like, why don't you just type these formulas out? Like, you know, 3 plus 4 plus whatever. Well, it's easier as you have more data, right? So like right here, I've got a cell, a column of test scores right here. I mean, these people did really, really bad on some of these tests. They got 4 points. And then a 93. I don't know. It's random data, so it doesn't have to make sense. Whatever. So just like before, what I'm going to do to figure this out is I'm going to type in equals average B1 through B17. Now this could be just as easy as typing in the sum of, you know, B1 through B17, or 80 plus 21 plus 83, and so on. It's all pretty easy, and then I hit enter. But if I want to find the average for all these, really all I have to do is type it in once and hit enter, and then I can copy and drag this formula all the way over, and with just one swipe of my mouse, I get the average for all of these columns. It's so simple. And then also, sometimes there's no mathematical operator for what you want to do. So like, how do you find the square root? Remember we talked about all those operators a few seconds ago. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, square root. I mean square to the power of. But how do you find square root? What's the operator for square root? There isn't one. There like literally is no mathematical operator that we have on our keyboards for square root. And so what you have to do is you have to use a function. The function in Excel for square root is sqrt equals sign sqrt, and then you put in the number that you want to find the square root of. Or you could put in the cell that contains the number that you want to find the square root of. So like, let's say we wanted to find the square root of any of these numbers here. What's a good one to find the square root? We want to find the square root of 96. That sounds good. So we would type in, instead of sqrt 16, which of course would be 4, we want to type in sqrt C11. sqrt C11 right here, instead of 16, would return the square root of 96. I don't know what it is. You'll have to solve that mystery on your own. But, or you could type it into Excel, and it would do it for you. So that's how you find the square root. Sometimes you just have to use functions because the operators don't exist. So here's some other handy functions that you might need to know for this class. Write these in your notes or save this page and come back to them. Save this, you're probably going to have the PowerPoint, but you can just copy what's on the PowerPoint into a document or whatever. But sum is going to add the values. All of these, by the way, all of these have to start with an equal sign, and then there's going to be parentheses after them. So it's going to be equals sum, parentheses, what do you want to add together, end parentheses, hit enter, and then it'll do it for you. So sum is going to add the values. Count is going to tell you how many observations there are. So if we went back here and we said count B1 through B17, it would say, hey, there's 17 things. It would return the number 17 because there were 17 numbers from B1 to B17. Now that seems stupid. You could just count. But what if you had missing values? What if not everybody completed all the tests? Well, not everybody would have 17. So you could use count to figure out how many tests they'd actually taken. Or what if your cells don't start at 1? What if they start at 8? You could go through and you could count it, or you could just type count and select the data that you want, and there you go. So count is one interesting and handy function that you might need as well. Average, we already talked about that. That's going to compute the mean. The mode, or just mode, is going to compute the mode. Median is going to compute the median. You kind of see like a pattern here, right? Like they're really simple functions. And this one kind of breaks it a little bit. STDEV, that's going to compute the standard deviation. Max is going to find the maximum value. Min is going to find the minimum value. These are good for finding the range of values. So you might, a formula that you might type in that uses two functions is equals max, and then your range of cells, minus min, and then your range of cells. And essentially what you've done is you've subtracted the minimum value from the maximum value. There's your range. You've done range already, just with these functions. You don't even have to look through your data to find out what the highest and lowest number is. You can just type it in as a function. So if you have multiple columns of data, just copy it in. You're done. It's so easy and simple. T.test, this is going to give you the p-value of a t-test. So once we get way further into the class and we start talking about, like, now we're actually going to be doing statistical tests, we want to find the difference between two groups. You can get the p-value of a t-test comparing two groups with the function t.test. So simple. And I mean, at this point, it starts seeming like this is just like a list of like songs on Now that's what I call music, right? So Corel, this is going to be, it's going to compute the correlation coefficient. Toxic by Britney Spears, and many more. And if you order now, you can get free shipping with 4 easy payments of $49.95. Anyway, here's the list of functions that you can take a look at, put in your notes. These are going to come in handy. Trust me, they're going to come in handy for this class. Okay, now let's talk about the analysis tool pack. So totally switching gears. This is an add-in program that has data analysis tools with it. It's going to do things like compute correlations for you, or t-tests and ANOVAs, chi-squared, all sorts of stuff like this. What's great about it is it doesn't just return one thing. So remember the operator back here that I told you about, t.test, is going to give you the p-value of a t-test. Well, the analysis tool pack is going to give you the p-value of the t-test. It's also going to give you the t-statistic. It's going to give you the degrees of freedom. It's going to give you all of these things. I know you don't really have a reference frame for that yet. You don't even know what I'm talking about. That's fine. But if you're going to report these tests in, say, a paper, you have to use all three of those. So you'll have to report the test statistic, you'll have to report the degrees of freedom, and then you'll have to report the p-value as well. So it's really nice not to have to write a formula for each of those things. You can just click on a couple things, select your data, hit enter, and there you go. It's all right there for you. And that's what the analysis tool pack does. So you have to load this program to make it active. It's in Excel, but you don't have access to it yet. When the tool pack is active, you're going to get this little data analysis option in your data toolbar. You have a data toolbar already, but it's got things like sort, which is really helpful to sort your data for different reasons. And there's other things in there as well, but you don't have the data analysis tab. So here's some instructions on how to get the data analysis tab. I'm not going to read these to you because if you're doing this, I think you have access to the PowerPoint. You can pull it up and you can do it yourself. I think what's actually better is if we just do it together. If you watch me do it, you can do it yourself. So here are some other videos, additional resources if you want to go through and figure out how to do this, including if you have a Mac, loading the analysis tool pack for Mac. I don't have a Mac. It's actually easier for you people with Macs than for us with Windows. But whatever. You paid a lot more for your computer, so I guess that's your one benefit. Okay, so like I said, what we're going to do right now is we're going to switch over to Excel. If you don't have this Excel file open, you should pause the video right now, go to Canvas, and download this Excel file. It's called Excel Basics Practice Sheet. It should be with the video on your Canvas page. And it should look just like this. Okay, so pause it and go get it. These names, I looked online for like a random name creator, and the one that I found was totally for people writing fantasy stories, and I think that's obvious in these names. They're not normal in any way. Like Cullen and Marsh? Are you kidding? Riker? Come on. Anyway, we'll go with it. We have to, because it was really hard for me to think of names. Anyway, whatever. The first thing we're going to do is load the analysis tool pack. So we're going to go to File, click on File. Now, my computer is just a little slow. How's your day going? New semester. There we go. Okay, so then you're going to go down to Options. It's all the way hidden very far down at the bottom right here. Click on Options, and that brings up this box. Now you want to click on add-ins right here. Add-ins. Click on add-ins. And then you want to go to manage Excel add-ins. This should be selected already for you. If it's not, click on it. And then click go. Yours probably doesn't say that. Yours will just bring this up. And now what you want to do is you want to check the box for Analysis Toolpack. I'm going to also click the box for the VBA, the Visual Basic Functions for Analysis Toolpack. That's because I'm a huge nerd. You can if you want, but all you really need is this Analysis Toolpack, the top one here. Now click OK. And I don't know if you saw that, this popped up, Data Analysis, right here. The Data Analysis Toolpack pops up in the Data tab. So if you were in Home, click on Data up here, and now you should see something. It's hidden under my face. You couldn't ever see it. Okay, there it is, right there, Data Analysis. And if you click on it, you get all these cool things. Move myself back up to the corner here. Okay, so you get all these cool things like single-factor ANOVA, two-factor ANOVA, a different kind of two-factor ANOVA, correlation, covariance. You didn't even need to know what covariance is for this class. Descriptive statistics, awesome. Exponential smoothing, not for this class, but it's still cool. Fourier analysis. That's actually, I've used this like for 10 or more years, and I, for some reason, have never realized that there was a Fourier analysis here. That's actually really cool. Anyway, so this is the Data Analysis Toolpack. We're not gonna do a ton with it right now, but this is gonna be like the thing for the rest of the class. Like the Data Analysis Toolpack is, Okay, but let's do something while we're here and we have these pieces of data. The first thing we're gonna do is we're going to do a couple different ways of finding the average. So always start with an equal sign. Go ahead and type this in with me, equals sum, and then we need a parenthesis to say like what we're taking the sum of. And I'm going to do B2 through, remember the colon is through, B2 through B18. Close your parentheses, hit enter. Hey, the sum is 866. That's not the average, though. That's okay. Up here in the formula bar, see the formula that we've typed in? It's up here in the formula bar. So you can click here, and you can put divided by count, open parentheses, B2 through B18. Now hit enter. The average is 50.9. If these are test scores, that's bad. This person is not passing whatever class this is. Well, I guess this is exam 1 that we're doing, not for a single person. So overall, the class did not pass exam 1. Whoops. Too bad, class. So that's the average for exam 1. Let's go down to the next cell. Let's try something else. We can type in equals average, open parenthesis, B2 through B18, close your parenthesis, hit enter, 50.9. Cool. Okay, let's do something else. We've been typing in the cell values like B2 through B18. We don't have to type them in. We can also select them with our mouse. So we can, in this one, and the other thing is you don't actually have to capitalize all of your functions either. So you can be super lazy about this. So we're going to do this one the super lazy way. Equals average, open parentheses, and then we're going to use our mouse to select everything in exam 1. Now, if you only have one function, you can leave your last parenthesis open and Excel will fill it in for you. It's not a good habit because if you have more than one thing going on, this is how problems can arise. This is why I was telling you earlier, watch your parentheses. But if you're only doing one thing, it's okay. So there you go. A bunch of different ways to find the average. Let's do this. Now we're going to find each person's average. So I'm going to put in here equals average, and we're going to find the average across these 5 exams. Hit enter, and there we go. Okay. Now, there's a few different ways to get the average to go all the way down, or if we were here, all the way across. Let's first find the average for each exam. What I'm going to do is click on, which one did I like best? These two are the same. I mean, they all return, it doesn't really matter. They all return the same value, so it doesn't matter. So we'll do this one here, the sum and count instead of just average. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control C. So it's going to copy it. And then you see the little dancing ants around that cell. That means it's copied. And then what we can do is click in the cell next to it and hit Control V. Excellent. If you want, you can click in the next one, or you can use your arrow key just to move over, and then hit Control V, Control V, Control V. You only have to copy it once. You can paste it as many times as you want. And so with just that, we've now got the average for all 5 of these exams. And this class does terribly overall. Okay, let's go see each individual person's average. I'm going to type in here average. And I didn't put an equal sign in front of it. That's because I don't want a formula. I just want to call this column average. So I can type something in it, and it'll, you know, if you just type in words without an equal sign, you're good. Those show up as words. Okay, so I'm going to show you totally a magical trick. Do you see that the cell that I'm in has a green box around it to show that it's highlighted? But then it's also got a green square in the lower right-hand corner. The green square, this is where all the magic happens. You have to put your cursor on the green square. If you're not exactly on the green square, it won't work. But your cursor will change what it looks like when you're on the green square. Notice that what I've got right now is a open white cross. And when I go on to the little dot, it's a black cross, filled in black cross. This means I'm on the magic dot, or the magic square. So you need to be on the magic square, make your cursor look different on the magic square. Now what you're going to do is you're going to click and hold, and then drag all the way down, and let go. And what that did was it just put in averages the whole way down. It copied the formula that was there, and you dragged it all the way down. So basically, it's like painting the formula. You dip your brush in. That's when you're clicking on the magic square. You're dipping your brush. And then when you drag it down, you're just kind of stroking the paintbrush down. And instead of bringing a bunch of paint with you, you've painted a formula. It's fantastic. If you've got like a whole bunch of data, some of the data sets I work on are like, I've got 100 participants. And each participant has maybe 100 things that they've done. All I got to do is type in the average formula once. And I can select all 100 data points. And then I can go and click on that fill handle and drag it down. And in like a minute or less, I've got averages for all 100 people for all 100 things that they've done. It's so cool. So handy. And you do statistics so fast. Okay, so now we've got averages for everyone in the class. We want to find out who our best student is and who our worst student is. So I'm going to type in top student and worst student. It seems harsh, but whatever. Worst student. Wah, wah. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to use the max and the min functions just to show you how these max and min functions work. So we're going to type in equals, always equals if you're calculating something, max, open parenthesis, and we want to select all of these averages, and it's going to give me the top score, which is 66.6. Find it over here, 66.6. It's Mackay. See what I mean about these crazy fantasy story names? So cool. Mackay. He gets an A plus with a 66. That's not happening in the class that we're in. It's a fantasy class. Okay, and then for the worst student, we're going to type in min. Select all these. 25.2. We're going to find it. 25.2. Oh, Cullen. No. You're named after a crappy vampire. You just can't catch a break. Z. Z or is it E? E. Okay. So there's our formulas. This is the introduction to Excel. Oh, hey. Let's figure out one more thing. Equals SQRT 96. Okay, cool. I don't know what I'm going to do with that information, but roughly 9.8. It's the square root of 96. Amaze your friends. Tell them to shout at any number and you can do square root. And then just make them keep going until they say 96, and then you know it's 9.8. It's a really bad magic trick. Anyway, so that's how you get the Excel add-ins. This is Excel basics, how to use Excel. There's a lot more Excel coming. There's a lot of crazy things that we'll learn how to do with Excel. I guess we do run through this later on, but since we did the data analysis tool pack, one thing that we can do is we can go to descriptive statistics. So click on data analysis, which was under my head, but you can find it. Click on descriptive statistics, click OK. And then what I want you to do is grab all of this data. You can even grab what says exam 1 through 5, and then grab all the data associated with it. It's grouped by columns because each exam comes down in a column. You want to tell it that there's labels in the first row because we grabbed these labels basically. So you want to tell it that there's labels. We're going to click on output range because I want these descriptive statistics on the same page that we're on. Click in the field next to output range. I'm going to just put them in P1. So I'll click there. And we want summary statistics. And then click OK. And so here's the kind of thing that you get with Data Analysis Tool Pack. This is why it's so cool. So we have not just the mean, but we've also got the standard deviation. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can read what all these things are. So we've also got the standard error, which is going to come up in this class. We've got the median. There is no mode for this set of data. We've got the standard deviation and the variance. The variance and standard deviation are related. We'll talk about that again. We've got kurtosis, skewness, the range. So it finds the range for you. It finds the minimum and the maximum, which again, here you can find if you use your formulas max and min, you could do max of cells minus min of cells. 97 minus 4 would give you the range of 93. This is already computing the range for you. The sum and the count. So descriptive statistics is pretty rad in terms of getting everything that you would need for finding this. I mean, think about it. It's really easy to do all these. Most of these have their own formulas that you could type in for all these things. The only one that doesn't is standard error does, median mode do, range doesn't. You'd have to calculate that on your own. but everything else does. But with a couple clicks, it does it all for you. Faster than you could type it in yourself, unless you're a very fast typer. So there's the data analysis tool pack. Quick run through of Excel, different things that you can do with Excel. By no means is this like going to complete your knowledge of everything you need to know with Excel. There's going to be little things that crop up throughout the class, new formulas, new functions, different things like that. But at least this will prepare you for where it's going. So if you felt comfortable with this, you'll be fine. If you didn't feel comfortable with this, keep practicing what we just did here in this last spot with the practice sheet until you do start to feel more comfortable. Okay, that's it. I'll see you in another video.